So this is going to be the last installment of the core video series on Jurassic Jeep number 73. As you can see, it's pretty much done. In the last video, I did get it out on the road, did a couple kilometers on it. Everything seems to be okay. A little surprising actually, I was expecting more issues, but really at this point it's just all the finishing, getting all the decals on, switching over the wheels of course. It doesn't have doors, tailgate yet, and of course the hardtop, I haven't dealt with that at all yet. So there's going to be a lot of little things and just kind of a lot of cleanup in this video, but really the most exciting part of this is going to be getting to show it to Jack for the first time. It's his 10th birthday, 2 days from now, and I'm planning on picking him up in this vehicle. So he doesn't know how much progress I've made since he left almost a week ago. So stay tuned for that. That'll be fun. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to go through some acknowledgements and just some recap on what I've learned about this project. Just for those of you who are looking at tackling this. And so that'll be really insightful for those of you who are looking at either building your own YJ, doing your own Jurassic Jeep, things that I'd recommend that you do and don't do, places to start and not start, things to leave well enough alone. So that's what this video is about. Thanks for making it to this point, and let's get into it. So first things first, I ended up losing a bunch of my footage, which I'll explain later. So this next little update are all going to be with still photos. But this is where we left it off. The Jeep had no front bumper, no doors, no tailgate, wrong wheels. But it did drive, and we got some fuel in it, so that was a major accomplishment. Now into some of the things that I did wrong. This one's pretty obvious. Don't know how I pulled this off, but yeah. Next, four-wheel drive. This is always on when I'm in two-wheel drive, and when you're in four-wheel drive, it turns off. So it's just backwards. I haven't actually figured out why. It hasn't been a big issue, because I don't use 4x4. This brake light, it ended up being a pressure or a bubble or something in the system, because heavy braking ended up eliminating the light, and it's never come back. Next, the windshield washer nozzles, they ended up getting crossed or something, because when you use the back one, that's what makes the forward one go. So I just have to rewire that or figure that out. I was really worried about the drive shaft more than anything else, and after watching these videos, I'm content it's okay. It's a little steeper than you'd like because it is such a short drive shaft, but once the rear shocks, springs settled down, there was really no more issues, and I'm content with the way this is for now. There's the bumper, getting the front bumper installed. You don't see the ends here, but we end up attaching the ends as well. 73 plate, of course, you got to have that. And then on the back end, I need to get the tailgate installed. So that was sort of the next piece. I got the latch installed already. And here is the mechanism inside the door, and a powder coated cover. And that's really starting to look pretty good there. Next, it'll be putting on the weather stripping and the hinges. And from there, this actually does have a carpet you can put over top of it, and I haven't bothered because it looks so good, freshly painted. And there it is installed on the back of the Jeep. And of course this one lines up nicely because this was the one that came off. And 4-liter output badges, as well as the Jeep or Jupe badges, I got from 401 Graphics, who also supply the Jurassic badges. So kind of finishing touches. Once you have the door on, we can mount the spare tire carrier, as well as all the standoffs as well, to keep it from touching. And there's the first of the 5 red wheels. I ended up using nice red lug nuts as well to hold that on from Amazon that I found. Now moving on to the half doors. So this is the bare half door, putting in all the linkages and mechanisms. This one doesn't have a window, which makes it a lot simpler than the full doors. Inside panel, new pouches from Vic Hugo. These things look amazing and are factory movie matching for the half doors. Now here's the issue. You notice the door is not closed. This door was not from my Jeep, and I didn't test fit it before I painted it. So now when I move the brackets, I end up with exposing the paint, which you'll see in a second. But I did get the graphics on. Just spectacular. There's no other word for that other than spectacular. And so now you'll notice the brackets on the bottom right there. There's a little slip of red, and that's underneath the paint. So I should have moved those first. Don't make that mistake. But there it is. It's installed. Looks beautiful. Got the mirror, of course, installed as well.
also putting on the red wheels. And voila, there it is, ready to go for Jack's 10th birthday reveal. So the next little bit is actually going to be video that I recorded live on Jack's birthday on May 14th, 2021. And so I'm just going to cut over to that, and we're going to watch most of that before concluding. I'm going to start into my acknowledgements just because I see Gary just showed up. So, so this project, if you haven't figured out yet what the gift is, I'm sitting in it. This project took me 18 months, and a few people helped a ton in that time, and one of which is Gary. So Gary's a guy I've never even met. We bonded over the Jurassic Park motor pool. He's from Toronto, and he actually used to work in the factory that built these things. And there were a lot of nights where I was scratching my head, and I'd send Gary a message at 11 my time and 1 o'clock his time, and he's right there to answer wiring diagrams or help me diagnose electrical gremlins. Really the friendliest guy that I've never met. So hopefully one day we can get our Jeeps together. So thanks, Gary, for everything that you've done. The next person I want to thank, I don't know if he's here yet, is my Uncle Bernie. So Bernie put more effort into this Jeep than anybody else outside of myself. 6 a.m. on Saturday mornings, he'd show up in my shop, and we'd work until 8, 9 o'clock at night. I didn't know how to build a vehicle when I started this thing at all, but Bernie sure did. He's done it dozens of times, and I literally could not have done it without him. So Uncle Bernie, you're an amazing human being, and it was such a privilege to work on this project with you. I really feel like this is something that we did together, and you helped more than absolutely anybody else. And the last person I'm going to acknowledge, and my eyes might start to pee a bit. So a lot of folks don't know, so I built this Jeep, but what they don't know is who paid for it. This thing costs a lot of money. I spent over $30,000 on it, and the person who paid for it was Jack's grandfather, my dad, Zub. Obviously he passed away a little over 2 years ago, and it was his inheritance that paid for this project. And so I wanted to give something to Jack from his grandfather, and so this was it. And it's a shame he's not here to see it, but he's the reason that it was able to get done. So thanks to Papa Zub for that. What's amazing is this thing even works. I remember talking to Gary and Bernie. I was like, took it for the first drive, and it worked perfectly. Like perfectly. Other than the fact that I overfilled the power steering fluid and it went all over the ground, but that was just me being an idiot. Other than that, it worked flawlessly. It actually works way better than it did before I took it apart, which, yes, I took apart a completely functional Jeep. I spent $30,000 to put it back together again. I'm not good with money, really. I don't know if I've ever tried reverse before. Seems like it works. Alright. Now we're going to flip over on the other camera. Let's open the door so that mirror's not in the way. Alright, time to go get Jack. Yeah.
How did you manage this in 1 week?
Spared no expense. Okay, look around. Okay, people are watching. They want to know what's in here. Can you tell them a little bit about your Jeep? What's its name?
I don't know. There's 2 names for it. Which one do you want me to say?
It's your Jeep. It's your 10th birthday present. You tell me.
For some reason, but now it's Sarah.
Look, Gary, the door closed. Okay, let's take a look. Take us on a tour. What's the 73 for? Why'd you pick that number?
Guys.
Come over here.
Number 77, and my favorite number is 3, so it's 73.
Yeah.
Is there even 73?
One of my favorite additions right there. Needs a move. Thanks, Chris. Whoops, going the wrong way. Yeah, well, we're
Oh, do I just find it?
number 2,176 on today's defect list.
How do I get in here? Open the door.
Yeah, you gotta pull on the door. Got in. You just gotta want it. There you go.
Wait here. I should know the left.
Thank you for my present.
A card for you. What does it say?
Jurassic Jack, happy 10th birthday. May all of your
Dreams.
dreams. Why does that look like a C then? It looks like a C and an L.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. That is that. All right, so you just saw the end of Jack's 10th birthday, and you might not be able to tell from me, but there's been a lot of time that's passed. There's been a lot of things changed in our lives, and it hasn't been so much about the Jeep. But you probably haven't seen Jurassic Jack in a while, and let me tell you, he's not quite the same guy that you're used to.
You're right, Dodson. I found his body, but not the DNA.
The actors
Oh,
haven't
there's
changed.
scraps in his bone marrow. I heard that's worth a lot. What am I doing in the garage? Oh, you didn't see any. This is not a crime scene. Don't get cheap on me, Dodson.
Yeah, none of the theatrics have changed. That was Nedry on the floor, by the way. Anyway, I don't know if he's coming back, but
Yeah.
are you going to join me for this?
You saw that guy who just ran out? Yeah, that's not me. That was Jimathan. He lives in the corner.
All right. So you notice we've stretched him out a little bit, cut his hair, play some football now.
Yeah.
So it's actually now February of 2023. It's actually my birthday. So anyway, geez, it's almost been 2 years since we finished that last video. And like I said, a lot has changed. So, my helper, you saw a lot in the videos. Yeah, she's at Khaleesi. Her and her dragons live here now, and that's pretty much consumed everything that we do. Not a whole lot of shop time like we had, just the two of us during COVID, the way it used to be. In fact, it's funny, the night I met Khaleesi, I showed her my paint bay.
My date's gonna kill me in the kill room.
Yeah, so her and the dragons are now living here as well at the Shit Shack with us. So that's keeping us busy. But, there are a few other things that, as you can see from the Jeep behind us, it's been running for a year and a half. And, overall, running really well.
we had the light on the brake line, which I resolved by locking up all 4 brakes one day, going down the highway, almost hit somebody. And then that light went away, so that was good. The 4-wheel drive light's still on when it's in 2-wheel drive. I haven't really worried myself about that because we never use the 4-wheel drive because we only drive it, on nice days. And I think the only other issue we had is the windshield washer fluid doesn't spray, and I think it's because I just got the two the wires crossed on for the rear one and the front one.
What about the broken handle?
Oh yeah, the handle on the full doors broke today, so we can't actually get out of the door. I think it just fell off. But speaking of the full doors, so yeah, I rebuilt the full doors, and our GoPro kind of ended up at the bottom of Shuswap Lake, so there's not a lot of good footage of this, so I really just have still images, which is part of the reason why it took so long to finish this, because I was just living in denial. But ultimately, yeah, we got the doors put back together. It was a bit of a pain putting the glass back in those doors, getting the handles to crank, and clearly getting the locks to work was a bit of an issue. I think today was probably the first day we've locked them ever. We usually just leave the doors open and put a club on the wheel. So that was a thing. But yeah, got those done up, put the other decals on there, of which one is starting to fall off as of today, which is kind of weird. But we don't really take it out much in the wintertime. It kind of just sits around. It's more of a summer vehicle. We did put on the hardtop, as you can see. It's cool, but when you drive around with the hardtop, it's kind of like driving around inside a garbage can. Like, it's really not a comfortable experience. It buffets, it's loud. The stereo sounds like crap. It was just a big fiberglass dome. It's kind of a coffin. So that's a bit of a thing. But we've got it on there and it works. We did do some soft tops, which I've actually only used part of the time. We usually just leave the tops off. The hardtop actually goes up on some chains here in the summertime, and the soft tops, show you some pictures of that, what those look like. So we got it's called a bikini top, windjammer, and dust boot. And to be honest with you, if I was doing it again, I would just do what's it called, a safari top, covers the whole thing. You don't need the dust boot or anything like that. This thing's not out in the rain, so it's not that big of a deal. When I was installing the dust boot, it was like one of the last things I did before we kind of rolled it out. I ended up putting a drill bit right through my thumb, broke the little drill bit right through my thumb. I still have evidence of that to this day. You can kind of see the little lines in there.
Well,
yeah, so that wasn't fun. So sorry for that picture. The fog lights. Jeffy, my good friend Jeffy, 3D printed this stuff. Daniel Kim actually did the files for these. What?
Do they know Jeffy?
Jeffy was in some of the videos, yeah. So this stuff like all melts away, I think, if you get it wet, and we'll have to sand this up and put one of these in here. So thanks to Daniel for putting together the files for this and Jeffy for printing them. But yeah, that's still a thing we have left to do. The winch is another thing we have left to do. I actually did find, so according to the sacred text, the official winch they used in the movies was an REP 6000 by Ramsey. So I ordered up the replacement decals for that, and I have one. I found it literally, it's like the hardest thing to find for one of these builds. And I just looked on our Kijiji, which is like Craigslist, and literally found it. Was the first day I looked. It was like, boom, here's one for $20. Doesn't work. So I could rebuild it. It'll cost $600, or I might just paint it and leave it as it is, because I'm not going to use it for anything. This thing never goes off-road. So those are the other things that we've completed. I'm not going to go into those things on the video. I might do future videos on those. We'll see. Anyway, let's talk about the exciting things we've done with the Jeep. Like literally the first day that we got it, we drove it all around town on your birthday.
Yeah.
Went and got some Five Guys.
Yeah.
There's a picture in front of the Saddle
Wait,
Dome.
we picked up Five Guys?
No.
When did we do that?
Five
Were
Guys,
you drunk
burgers
again?
and fries. I don't drive drunk. I drink after I drive. Yeah, so lots of driving around town. We actually went to the Fan Expo in 2021, which is really cool. It's kind of like the Comic-Con. We had one of the most popular booths there. You were working that booth, right?
Yes,
you and
I was
your
just in
brother
a
Finn.
dinosaur costume roaring at people.
Yeah, and it was, we had people lined up around the booth just to want to get a picture inside the Jeep. The Jeep took some abuse from that, I'm not gonna lie, and that was kind of in the height of like COVID, and so you had to like wipe it down after every single person. And yeah, that kind of was hard on some of the vinyl and the paint and stuff, and the seats definitely showed some wear. One of the cool things that came from that is a local cosplayer wanted to do a photo shoot, so I'll just kind of put a tag for Living the Dream Cosplay. So she was really cool. She wanted to do this sort of Jessica Rabbit meets, Jeep thing with Jack, of course, again, in the dinosaur suit. And we did that in a park in downtown Calgary. We've had other people reach out to do it as well, although we haven't done any more yet. So that's pretty cool. Now I kind of want to talk about, what went well, what didn't go well, things I do again, wouldn't do again in the scope of this project. It's hard to remember so much stuff. And if you've followed to this point of the videos series, please make a note in the comments saying, hey, I watched all this crap, because it was 1,200 hours of my life. I kind of totaled it up from looking at the GoPro footage, and honestly, it takes way longer to do it when you're trying to record everything you're doing, like at least double, if not more. And then the editing time, each video took like 8 to 10 hours of editing, which is kind of why I've been neglecting finishing up the series. But anyway, things that I did that I do again that I really liked. Oh my God, the sandblasting and powder coating. Like whether you're looking at the wheels, we powder coated the whole frame. So many of the other parts that we ended up powder coating at Calgary Powder Coating. It's just, if you can do it, go for it. And once you do one part, the rest incrementally gets so much more affordable. The first part's a couple $100, but after that, you can just keep layering it on, bringing buckets of them. You guys did a great work. They did the whole frame. Really happy with how that went. Another thing that I'm happy that we did, we picked a Jeep that didn't have a lot of rust, and that has a lot to do with the previous owner, Harley Peterson. So he did a lot of the repairs before we even got it. Cost me some extra because I bought a pretty nice Jeep, as you can see from the photos here. But he did some really good work in restoring most of the rust. So really the only places I had to deal with kind of re-welding were under the base of the tower, and there's a few spots along the frame that I had to just kind of tighten up a little bit. So got to use the MIG welder. So if you pick a Jeep with a lot of rust, you'll be like poor Gary, and you'll be doing this for the rest of your life. Another thing I really liked was painting the Jeep myself. Building the paint bay in here. I still have the paint bay. It's kind of just outside the window. It just folds up and goes away. That was fun. It was probably the most rewarding part of the whole project, was painting where we had the paint bay and the floor was rising. Yes. It was lava. And yeah, that was kind of fun. Yes, would you like to add something?
My phone's broken.
Yes, you don't have a phone. So yeah, painting the Jeep was fun. The gravel guard underneath, oh my God, that stuff was beautiful. Like I would paint anything with that stuff. It's so easy to apply. It sticks to anything. Like you barely even need to do prep to get that stuff to stick. We could really paint you with that stuff and you'd be like, live to your 200 or something like that.
Are we going to talk about the spots you missed?
We'll get there.
Okay.
Another thing I'm really happy about is that I restored the seats. Trim Pro just did such an amazing job with the seats. The seats are absolutely beautiful. A lot of guys, it's the first thing they look for kind of in the Jurassic Park motor pool is like, what kind of seats do you got? Like, 'cause it's the defining piece is the interior, because those are so hard to find, and they don't sell that trail cloth anymore. So I kind of got one of the last batches of that. Spent a good amount of money on it. And maybe this is the time to talk about how much money we spent on this whole thing. I'll show a screenshot of our spreadsheet here.
Where would it be?
Well, it's going to be in front of us. We're not even going to be in.
Oh.
Yeah. As you can see, the number is rather large. So anyway, that's what you're getting in for. $7,500 on top of that, Canadian, for the Jeep purchase itself from Harley. So that was a thing. Oh yeah, the stereo. That subwoofer in the wheel well, that was one of the only things that I kind of dreamed up to do myself. Other than that, I was just kind of restoring a Jeep, right? So that was sort of a cool mod that I did that ended up working out tremendously well. There's lots of clearance in by the tire. And it adds much needed bass to make the stereo work. And to be honest, when you get the hard top on, it's like really loud in there. Like it's like too loud. It's not even comfortable. So, but it's nice when you get the open air, you crank the thing up. It's only a 200 watt amp. Next, if you really wanted to go hardcore, I get the JL Audio small enclosure subwoofer, because I got one of those in my boat. It just blows it away, this kicker one. But oh yeah, the remanufactured engine. Really happy I went that route. You hear horror stories from people. I went with S&J engines. To be honest, I was really pissed because they said it was going to be in Montana on a certain day and it wasn't. And I still haven't forgiven them for that, because it screwed up my whole spring and there were a whole bunch of follow-on side effects. But I did get it before COVID, and so it worked out okay. So yeah, those are the things that went well, and I do it again. Regrets, biggest mistakes. I wanted to restore a vehicle from scratch. I wanted to take out every bolt, powder coat the frame, put it all back together, paint every part. And I did that. I would never do that again. That was so much extra work. Like, the guys will just make a Jurassic Jeep in a weekend. They'll find a Sahara, sand it down, paint it, you're in, you're out, bada bing, bada boom. I did 1,200 hours of this, and you know, the amount of money that you saw. So I don't think I'd do that again. I mean, yeah, it's beautiful and it'll last forever this way, but I mean, I created my own problems with a lot of that, like running out of ground, for example. So I wouldn't do that again. There's so much in there that, and taking out all those bolts is a nightmare. Like, removing bolts was the worst part of this entire project, and standing in front of this stupid grinder here, cleaning old bolts. I did so much of that. Just leave them in there. Don't take it all the way apart. I would rebuild the transmission if I had another chance. This is the one thing I didn't touch, and it's already showing signs of age. It was kind of skipping today. It was grinding a bit. You hear that? And it's not cool. And you know, I was trying to save a little bit of money. In the end, I'm probably going to restore that transmission in the next 5 years, so that's a thing. Another regret, wiring issues. So you remember the point where I ran the wire loom in the engine bay behind the engine? It got stuck there, and it was supposed to run up over top. And then I ended up trying to lower the engine in order to get it out. And then the chain broke that was holding the engine up, and the engine fell. Like, worst part of the entire project right there. That was just a nightmare. The other nightmare was the other part of the wiring was where I lost the ground and I couldn't figure out the ground. That took a week, right before your birthday actually, trying to figure out why the signal lights wouldn't work. And so if you watch the last videos before this, you'll see that I went through on that. Another issue I had is when I was painting the roof, the hood. I was painting the hood. I painted the hood 5 friggin' times. And that was a nightmare because I had an assortment. Every time I painted it, there was a different issue. But the baseline issue, the reason why it failed the first time is because I hung the roof to paint it. I should have painted it flat on a surface, and when you paint that much vertically, it drips and it runs, and it created runs in the paint. And that caused me all sorts of problems because then I wrecked my decals and I had to reuse the decals, and then they didn't stick right, and then we got overspray. So when you talk about the parts that I screwed up, a lot of it had to do with that issue. And you know, I tried to save the original red. That was brain dead from the start for a couple reasons. Number one, it meant I had the wrong color red. It wasn't perfect, right? Number two, it's glossy red, which I actually kind of like, but I ended up having to redo the red anyway. So starting by covering up all the red was just a dumb idea. It just took me in the wrong direction. It's so much easier to spray the red after. So I wouldn't have done that again. Anyway, now to the point, acknowledgements, kind of people I want to thank. I mentioned a little bit earlier in the video, Bernie, Gary, and my dad Zub. Those are the 3 biggest influences on this project, so I won't go into that again, but thank you all. The Jurassic Park motor pool itself, Ari and Rob and the guys and girls who set that up. Just an amazing resource. The sacred texts will show you everything you need to do, right down to ball mounts for CB radio whips and things like that. Yes, Jack? Is there anyone you'd like to thank?
You.
Me? Say more about that.
You built it, but I gave you the tools.
That's true, you did bring me some tools. And Uncle Bernie too, he did a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, you owe him big.
Where is the
Thank you.
helicopter?
You know, a lot of good businesses I used. Trim Pro I mentioned. Calgary Body Shop Supplies answered a lot of questions when it came to painting. I mentioned Calgary Powder Coating. High Performance Coatings, where I got the other paint. S&J Engines, despite the pain that I dealt with them, overall gave me a good product. Quadratech, actually, I had a lot of nuisance when it came to the actual ordering and shipping, but if they didn't exist, this would be really, really hard to do. And the fact that there's an organization out there that just carries old Jeep parts forever, rebuilds, finds new manufacturers, like that's pretty cool. And so I guess I have to acknowledge them. You know, this whole project goes back to your 6th birthday. You remember? Where were you on your 6th birthday?
Universal?
Universal Studios in Orlando.
Yes.
This actually came from Universal Studios, although from a trip that I made without him. And we saw that Jeep there there was a T-Rex head up in the sky, and you were hugging some sort of a dinosaur stuffy.
It wasn't accurate though. The Jeep wasn't accurate.
The Jeep was not perfect, if we've learned. But that's where this whole thing started, was seeing that and then finding the community behind it. You know, I did get to check off my bucket list, which was restoring a vehicle from scratch. We also have a convertible, which is something I kind of wanted, which is cool. And
So you destroyed a vehicle by scratching it? That would have took
yeah, that's what I did. And you know what? There's so many other people who participated in this project, even just like helping me move some things. Here's a list of all the people that I can recall who helped. And again, it's been over the course of 3 years now, maybe 4 years. So yeah, all the names on this list were people who just did either a little to a lot. It made a big difference. So thank you all, and hopefully I didn't miss anybody there. And with that, I think I've said everything I want to say. It's over to you now, Jack. Nearing your 12th birthday, you have your Jurassic Park Jeep. You still want to be a paleontologist?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You got your Jurassic Jack hat and your
Yes.
Jurassic Park shirt?
Yes.
Yes. Anything else you want to say?
You're being a Centausaurus right now.
You know, one day you're going to bring it back and watch this because, you know, our dozens of viewers, you know, they probably like this, but they don't really care. But really, this is for you to go back and watch 20, 30 years from now.
Well,
I'm
they're
bring
dead.
this stupid bride. Well, let's hope I'm not dead, but sometime I'll die. And you get to watch this. Anything you want to say to your future self?
Hi.
And that's that. All right, say goodbye. Thanks for joining.